On March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747 passenger jets collided on a foggy runway at Tenerife Airport in the Canary Islands. 583 people died in seconds. But this wasn't just a freak accident. It was the culmination of human errors, system failures, and communication breakdowns that revealed terrifying gaps in aviation safety. What happened that day and in the disasters that followed forced the entire aviation industry to confront a shocking truth. The skies weren't as safe as everyone believed. The story of aviation disasters isn't just about mechanical failures or bad weather. It's about the deadly combination of human judgment under pressure, technology that fails when you need it most, and lessons learned from every tragedy. These crashes didn't just claim lives, they rewrote the rules of flight. Let's start with the foggy afternoon in 1977 that changed everything. Two fully loaded Boeing 747s were sitting on the ground at Los Rodeos Airport, now known as Tenerife North Airport. Neither plane was supposed to be there. A terrorist bomb at Gran Canaria Airport had forced air traffic control to divert multiple aircraft to this smaller, poorly equipped facility. The tarmac was jammed. The KLM flight was carrying 248 passengers and crew. The Pan Am jet had 396 people on board. Fog had rolled across the runway, reducing visibility to almost zero. The airport's ground radar system wasn't working. Air traffic controllers had to rely on radio communications alone to track the massive aircraft moving blindly through the mist. But here is where the first critical error occurred. The Dutch KLM crew was struggling to understand instructions from Spanish air traffic controllers, speaking English with heavy accents over a congested radio frequency. Language barriers weren't just inconvenient here. They were deadly. Compounding the danger was sheer impatience. The KLM crew was racing against strict duty time limits. If they didn't take off soon, they would be legally forced to stay overnight. The KLM captain believed he had clearance for takeoff. He pushed the throttles forward. He didn't have clearance. The Pan Am aircraft was still on the active runway, trying to find the correct taxiway exit in the thick, disorienting fog. At 5:57 p.m., the KLM jet began its takeoff roll. A tragic radio step-over resulted in a high-pitched squeal in the KLM cockpit, masking a crucial transmission from Pan Am stating they were still on the runway. By the time both crews saw each other's landing lights through the dense mist, it was entirely too late. The KLM plane was traveling over 150 miles per hour. The captain desperately pulled back on the yoke, dragging the tail along the asphalt. Attempting to leap over the Pan Am jet, he almost made it, but the landing gear sliced through the top of the American jet, igniting a catastrophic inferno. Everyone aboard the KLM flight died.
Canary Islands collision, the worst disaster in the history of aviation.
335 of the 396 people on the Pan Am jet were killed. The Tenerife disaster remains the deadliest accident in aviation history, but Tenerife was just the beginning of a decade that would reshape aviation safety forever. On August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123 took off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport bound for Osaka. It was a routine domestic flight during a busy holiday season. 12 minutes into the flight, as the aircraft climbed through 24,000 feet, passengers heard an explosive sound from the rear of the Boeing 747. The aircraft's aft pressure bulkhead had failed catastrophically. This wasn't random. 7 years earlier, this exact aircraft had suffered a tail strike during a landing. The repair work performed on that damaged section was fundamentally faulty. Engineers used one row of rivets instead of the required two, severely reducing structural integrity. Under the immense stress of thousands of pressurization cycles over the years, the weakened bulkhead finally ripped open. The resulting explosive decompression rushed into the tail section, completely destroying the vertical tail fin and tearing it off the aircraft. It severed all 4 hydraulic systems. For 32 agonizing minutes, Captain Masami Takahama and his dedicated crew fought to keep the plane in the air, using only engine thrust to steer. By increasing and decreasing power to the engines, they desperately tried to control their direction and altitude. It was a superhuman effort. They managed to keep Flight 123 flying longer than any simulator test subsequently deemed possible. But the unforgiving laws of physics couldn't be overcome. The Boeing 747 spiraled downwards and crashed into the steep, wooded ridges of Mount Takamagahara in the mountains northwest of Tokyo, traveling at over 300 miles per hour. 520 people died, making it the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history. Only 4 passengers survived. Miraculously found alive the next morning, all seated in the tail section that had broken away from the main fuselage and slid down the mountainside. Meanwhile, in the United States, another disaster was unfolding. On May 25, 1979, American Airlines Flight 191 was beginning its journey from Chicago O'Hare International Airport to Los Angeles. The McDonnell Douglas DC-10 was fully loaded with 271 people on board. During the takeoff roll, something went terribly wrong. The left engine and its massive mounting pylon separated completely from the wing, flipped backwards over the aircraft, and smashed onto the runway. The sheer loss of the engine wasn't the only problem. The violent separation ripped through crucial electrical and hydraulic lines embedded in the wing. The pilots heard a loud bang and felt the aircraft violently yaw, but from their vantage point, they couldn't see the wing. They had no way of knowing how severely their aircraft was compromised. Because electrical systems were severed, the captain's flight instruments failed, and the critical stall warning alarm on the left wing was disabled. Following standard procedures for an engine failure on takeoff, the crew dutifully reduced their speed and attempted to climb to a safe altitude to return to the airport. But the damaged left wing, missing its extending slats which retracted due to the loss of hydraulic pressure, stalled at a much lower speed than normal. The right wing kept lifting, while the left wing lost all lift entirely. The massive DC-10 rolled uncontrollably to the left, 90 degrees in the air, and crashed nose first into an open field just beyond the runway. Everyone on board died instantly, along with 2 innocent people on the ground. The crash investigation revealed a shocking truth. Improper maintenance procedures had critically weakened the engine mounting. To save time, mechanics were using a heavy forklift to remove the engine and the pylon as a single unit. This dangerous shortcut accidentally cracked the pylon's rear bulkhead attachment point. Every subsequent flight widened that microscopic crack until the metal simply snapped. Poor communication, maintenance shortcuts, and hidden design flaws shared a common thread: human errors. But the industry refused to let these tragedies be in vain. After Tenerife, standard phraseology was completely overhauled. The phrase "Roger" was banned for granting clearances. Controllers must now explicitly state "cleared for takeoff," and pilots must repeat the exact phrase back, confirming mutual understanding. The Japan Airlines tragedy forced the industry to completely overhaul how structural repairs were inspected. Engineers and mechanics couldn't just assume a fix was permanent. They had to implement rigorous, ongoing non-destructive testing to find microscopic flaws years after a repair was made. Following the American Airlines crash, the Federal Aviation Administration mandated incredibly strict engine maintenance procedures. The forklift shortcuts were banned. Aircraft manufacturers were forced to completely redesign systems so that losing an engine or suffering localized hydraulic damage wouldn't compromise other critical warning systems. Perhaps the most significant change was cultural. Airlines implemented safety management systems to hunt for hazards. Mechanics and pilots report mistakes anonymously, allowing airlines to spot dangerous trends before metal bends. Aviation regulations are written in blood. The victims of Tenerife, Japan Airlines Flight 123, and American Airlines Flight 191 didn't die in vain. Their stories forced the industry to evolve, becoming the foundation for the extraordinary safety record modern aviation enjoys today.